doing definitely the last sudden violence take. This is not actually a true part of the sudden violence series, but it can be because they are suddenly violent methods. But however, these are methods that I've rediscovered through my old notes and stuff that I've been looking for ages. And these come from directly, these are basically Chang Yiu-Chun's ways of Dim-Mak. These are 5 methods that he showed me. A lot of my stuff have come from these 5 methods anyway. So these are Chang Yiu-Chun's methods. These are the methods that he taught me, and basically what he would always use, his favourite methods were his fingers, either spear hand or 2 fingers together. Very rarely would use 1 finger, but it's always 2 fingers like this. You've got to be quite accurate to do these ones. However, you can substitute the finger pointing, of course, for a palm strike, so that you're bound to get the points when you do them. Anyway, and he used to use an elbow and a palm heel strike, but his favourite ones were always poking methods, poking into the points. I guess at his age and at his experience, he could use finger poking methods because he was so accurate, even though he was quite old. And so these 5 methods he used to teach to train people about Dim-Mak and what I now call as sudden violence or reflex violence, because that is the motor of the whole thing. Of course, you haven't got the automatic reflex actions, then you have to revert back to doing karate or something. There are 5 methods, and he always used to say, in his way of speaking English, translated as being, if you want to learn how to fight against a weapon, because if you can defend yourself fair enough against any sort of a weapon, then you can defend yourself against hand attacks much easier. And this is the basic premise of Taiji and Bagua. We have so many complicated movements, not meaning that we use these complicated movements in the street, but if you can use these complicated movements in training against fairly realistic type of attacks, then you can use them anywhere against lesser attacks, in other words. So in other words, you're training on a guitar that's very hard to play, and once you get onto a Stratocaster, you can play really easily because the action is really much better. But if you can play a really shit guitar to start with, that's the basic premise for the whole thing. So he only used to ever use 2 lumps of wood, and he would quite often just pick up a lump of wood off the grass, a shorter piece. So I'm using that piece. That's probably a bit too long to represent a knife, of course. That's a bloody big knife. That's a machete. But he would use a piece that may be about that long, and then a longer stick, which I've got here as well, to represent it. So within these 2 weapons, short stick and long stick, we have basically any weapon that you're ever likely to be attacked with. No one's going to attack. No, don't pick up that log, Wally. Yeah, that's right. It's an axe. Wally's picking up an axe. I thought you were going to pick up the log, mate.
No, I'll leave that to Kunda.
Yeah, no one's going to attack you with a chair. But anyway, even the chair, it's the same. It's the same deal. So it doesn't matter what weapon, except a gun, of course. So we're talking about handheld weapons, apart from guns, that represent all other weapons, and so these 2 represent those. So we're going to start off with a short stick representing perhaps a knife or some other type of instrument like a knife. Rob? I thought you were picking up the dog shit then. Yeah. No, just a jab. We're going to start out with just a jab. Just a jab is always the old jab with the knife. Now do it fast. If you can get in there fairly easily, come around this way, Rob. Even if, see, with this length of stick, of course, we're talking about there at the very most. Most knives, you can't conceal a knife this long, unless you live in the Philippines and you walk around with it. But we're talking about a knife up to that long, for instance. That's a big knife. So if I do it this way, say me again, Rob. Just hit me. See, if that's okay, if I get to there. If it just taps me, and I can still get in, then I'm okay. Because remember, if you can sort of get away with it with a big long bit of wood like this, with it just tapping you and just being able to deflect it, then you're sort of getting there with a fairly fast, do it fast there, Rob. Like, ah! So if you can sort of get away with that, then you're starting to get somewhere with a big long stick. We used to train, I can remember, down in Pitt Street with big long burning incense and bare shirts. Shirts with bears on them, yeah. Fur shirts. Bare top. Bare chested. And many of the guys used to have welts over here from getting a little bit. And that's a good way of practicing, because you're really, if you're training with a rubber knife or something, you're not afraid of it. Oh, it's not going to hurt me, so I won't really try hard. But if you've got a bare chest and you've got a burning lump of, you can get those incense sticks that long coming at you, that puts you under some stress. So it's a good way of training. The very first strike we're going to use, run this way again, thanks Rob, is temple. Yiu-Chun used to say 1, 2 and 3. Number 1, he would say, this is a translation of what he used to say, number 1 was sort of to stun someone. Number 2 was to knock them out, and number 3 was to kill them. We're talking about the same point though. So we're talking about stunning, really stunning that, right? So temple, we're talking about 2 fingers, into the temple. I should have brought my little training mitt along, because you don't go breaking your fingers training on the training mitt. We're talking about, see how the fingers are like this? We're not talking about like that. You're going to break your fingers here, and I won't touch Rob because I've got guitar playing fingers here and they're going to scratch your skin off. Good weapons anyway, aren't they? This is kangaroo form. See how the fingers are placed? They've got plenty of give on them, and they're not going to, I'll just do it gently. So they're not stiff. They're not stiff. See that? Whereas that's going to push my fingers back up into the sockets. I've broken 2 of those in the past through doing stupid things. But see, they're going like that. And that's what we're working at the moment. That's your first strike into the temple. So if the knife's coming towards your face, for instance, it's yeah. You don't even have to block the knife. This whole thing against weapons, by the way, is exactly the same as the empty-handed sudden violence methods. There's no difference. Just because you've got a weapon, there's no difference. It's just that you've got to do everything exactly the way that we do them in the sudden violence. There's no making a mistake. You can make a mistake. Say you're going to throw a punch. You can do, that's a mistake. And you can compensate for that because he hasn't got a weapon, and you can sort of still get in there. You notice then as he went to punch, I went, oh, see, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. I should have gone, he's going to punch. Wah! See, now, I won't go over this in because that's the whole idea of sudden violence, is this method of hit him before he hits you. So when he's got a weapon, it's even more important to get this absolutely correct. So if he's got his weapon and he's going to stab you in the face, that's when you move, you see? You don't wait there and try and block the weapon, or, heaven forbid, try and do a lock and take the bloody thing off him, because, I've demonstrated this many times before in my knife fighting videos, never grab the arm that's got the weapon. Never do that, because he's going to rip, a good knife will just rip your hands to shreds, and in the classroom, he's not a raving animal. In the street, he is. He's got yang energy, so of course if you grab it, he's just going to rip your hands to pieces, and then you're dead, you see? But that's the basic rule. So we're basically against weapons, we're using the rules of weapons fighting, and that is bump, evade, bump, and attack or kill. Then you can take the knife off him once you've stunned him, knocked him out, or killed him. Then you can take the knife off. So that's our very first movement. If it's the low jab, it's do what I did before. There's bang. Now be very careful with this. You can really dislocate your partner's elbow really easily, which has happened in the past, by simply doing that. We're not pushing the arm away, we're going like that. See, that's yang, and it's coming through, it's flicking, like that. It's not going, pushing his arm away. So immediately that I have